Well, hi everybody, and thank you for making me welcome here. It's a pleasure to be here. It's been a big few days for me. I've reached what I think it would be called an inflection point in my career. As some of you may have seen, I decided not to stand for re-election to the House of Commons. But as some people have pointed out, to do the job that I do, which I have loved doing for the last nearly 5 years in the Cabinet Office, driving public service reform, efficiency savings, and digitalisation, a seat in the House of Commons is not absolutely essential to continue in that role. So those who were celebrating my departure may have uncorked the champagne too early. Anyway, great to be here and have the chance to share some thoughts with you about Verify, gov.uk Verify, something which is important and I think well leading, and we're very proud of it. The spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation is at the heart of the government's long-term economic plan. Many of the world's biggest and most transformative companies started with little more than a few bright people with the vision and determination to take a brilliant idea from the drawing board to the marketplace. Startups grow to become small businesses, which then become big ones, creating jobs, investment. We all know this. We all benefit from entrepreneurial success. And few areas have been more fertile for entrepreneurs than the internet. And this morning, almost the entirety of our cabinet meeting was devoted to the digital economy in its various forms. And we will have more to say about that at our sprint event this afternoon. Britain is leading in this area in a very hotly contested field, but we need to be doing more, better, quicker, all of the time. This is fast moving. The fact is that digital and the internet is an incredibly fertile area for entrepreneurs. The fact that the web is open and free, it's grown organically from the bottom up, has made it impossible for anyone to take this amazing institution, this amazing invention, and use it to create new technologies, new products, new services, and opportunities. And within government, using digital technology more effectively is already enabling us to help to meet rising public expectations of public services. Three pressures on public services: the quality, people's expectations of the quality are rising, the demand in terms of quantity is rising because people are living longer, and we always talk about that as if it's a problem. The longer I live, the better it seems, more of an opportunity, but it means the demand for public services are growing all the time and there isn't any money. So we need to do more and better for less. And what we've been showing is that we can do that. And digital services, of course, are hugely cheaper, 20 times cheaper than delivering the service over the phone, 30 times cheaper than by post, 50 times cheaper than face-to-face, but it's also potentially much better. Opportunity to redesign. The constant refrain of our government digital service is focus on user need. And actually, government should never have needed digitalization to think about that, but in the past, governments have expected people, citizens and businesses, to adapt to how government happens to be configured by, mostly through historical accident. And that is changing, has to change much, much more. We need to configure what we do around the needs of the user. So if you can shop online at midnight and you can bank from your smartphone, which I find a disadvantage in some ways, because when one of my children says, "Dad, I need some more money," I have no excuse for not being able to deliver it straight away, as I did, actually literally at midnight last night. And so we should be able to renew our passports or view our driving record just as easily and conveniently. So we want government to be digital by default. Our aim is to design services which are so straightforward that all those who can use them will choose to do so, and those who can't are given the support they need to be able to do so. So we started by replacing well over, it says here 300 inconsistent and expensive websites, but actually I think we had many, we kept finding more government websites. I mean, you turn over a stone and there's another dozen of them. It was amazing. So we've replaced it with just one, gov.uk, and that makes it easier for people to find what they're looking for. Last year, we celebrated the billionth visit to gov.uk, and it's cheaper. We're saving £60 million a year more than halved the cost of providing this information and publication service. And now we've turned our attention to digitizing the high-volume public services. So whether you want to renew your car tax, apply for apprenticeship, it's now quicker and hassle-free, student loans, all of these things, one by one. These services are becoming faster, clearer, and the number of people using them continues to grow. For instance, 1 million people use the new individual electoral registration service just in the 2 months after it went live, and to date almost 3 million people have registered to vote using the service. But the more we spend our lives online, the more the issue of identity assurance becomes crucial. Till now, we've had to rely on offline methods or on digital systems that frankly don't give a high enough level of confidence for modern, sophisticated digital services. As we go digital by default, we need to be confident that people are who they say they are, and the public need to know that their information is safe. It's about trust. This is the crucial factor which underpins the success of digital transactions. From the very start, we've been clear about 3 things. First, privacy and control over identity and personal data is absolutely essential. We are not going down the route of a single government database. Identity is a very important source of power, and our view is that that power should rest with the citizen, not with the state. That's why the coalition government enthusiastically abandoned the previous government's National Identity Card program. Second, we're not looking for a single solution for identity assurance. Technology moves far too quickly for that. And thirdly, we need to keep services easy to use. And there's nothing more frustrating than having to remember too many passwords, and actually nothing more insecure. We remember last year's Heartbleed security bug highlighted just how vulnerable they can be. The most popular passwords in the world include password, QWERTY, and let me in, which kind of tells you all you need to know about how effective they are. So we need better solutions. The best digital services put the needs and requirements of the people that use them first, and it shouldn't be any different for identity assurance. The internet's a fundamental part of, and a wonderful part of everyday life, so the security needs to be easy and convenient, helping us to go about our lives online safely, but without getting in the way. It's about finding the right balance between usability and security, and if we can find that happy medium, then we can strengthen trust without diluting the qualities of speed, convenience, and choice that make digital services so appealing in the first place. The good news is that this isn't a question for the public sector alone. Plenty of other organizations, high street banks, for instance, wrestle with these very same issues. So our approach has been to encourage the private sector to take a lead role in producing identity solutions for public services, leaving the government to focus on setting standards and encouraging the development of a market for identity services. And the result is gov.uk Verify. It's been made possible with the support of funding from our national cybersecurity program. It allows people to prove their identity in an entirely digital way by offering people a choice of providers. So the citizen himself or herself can choose which identity provider to use, not the one offered to you by the state, not the state itself, crucially, and this is essential, we believe, for the building of trust in the system. So when you need to prove who you are, you can choose who you'd like to verify you from a list of certified companies. We currently have contracts with 5 certified companies. Experian and DigIdentity are already on board. The remaining 3, Midex, the Post Office, and Verizon, will join in due course. Each provider will adopt different methods and different approaches, but to providing the same level of confidence. We prescribe the what, we do not prescribe the how. The company will perform checks before verifying your identity to gov.uk. You'll also be asked to enter a code that you can receive on your mobile phone, by email, or through a call to your landline. So 2-factor identification. Verifying your identity for the first time usually takes 10 minutes, and once it's done, it's quick and easy to use the same company every time you need to access a government service online. In a few moments, we're going to run a demo, so you can see how simple it is. And this is where we hope it works. It hasn't failed so far. The crucial thing about this system is that people remain in control of their own data. They choose which provider to use. The system doesn't store data, and the provider doesn't know which service the person is trying to use. The company you choose can't use or share your data without your permission. The user has total control. This works still at a relatively early stage. It went into public beta testing towards the end of last year, but people can already use it to access 6 services, from completing your HMRC tax self-assessment to applying for a farming subsidy. More than 10,000 people have used it already, and as more people and services start using Verify over the course of this year, we'll be able to learn from their feedback to refine the service, because as with everything we do in digital in government, this is always a work in progress. It will never be a completely finished product. There will always be innovation. It is not a black box which we've taken delivery of. Constant innovation, constant iteration, constant evolution. And because the standards which identity providers are required to meet are open, the private sector will be able to incorporate new security and counter-fraud technologies as they become available in the future. But this is more than just a standalone service. By aggregating demand from across the public sector, we're creating a new market for identity assurance services. Government's the first customer for this federated model of certified identity assurance providers, but there's potential demand way, way beyond the public sector. Customer registration processes in banking, insurance, transport, and retail can all be improved and fraud reduced through a trustworthy and convenient digital identity assurance infrastructure. That's why the Cabinet Office early on joined the Open Identity Exchange so that we can work with like-minded organizations to explore the potential. Through OIX, we've been funding a number of small-scale discovery projects to explore potential answers to the question of how to create convenient, secure, and privacy-enhancing digital transactions. But the government isn't imposing solutions from the top down. We're working alongside partners to understand the problem and to find answers that work. As an example, we've been working with the South Yorkshire Credit Union to see how digital identity can help people who are financially excluded. Often people who are very well known from face-to-face transactions have difficulty creating a digital identity. They rely on paper evidence instead, but that has a much lower level of trust. But opening a basic bank account with only paper evidence can be difficult, given how highly regulated this sector is. A digital identity that meets government-agreed standards could therefore address regulatory obligations for identity verification. Another OIX project we're involved with is working with Warwickshire County Council and other partners to look at ways of improving the application process for a disabled parking blue badge. At the moment, applying for a blue badge involves gathering together reams of different paper statements to prove eligibility. For people in receipt of disability benefits, a digital verification process would reduce this to a simple yes/no answer from the DWP, which could then be sent to the relevant local authority. And our exploratory work has shown it's possible to reduce that process literally from 10 weeks down to 10 minutes. This transaction shows how digital identity can reduce the need for large amounts of personal information to be shared and stored by organizations. Instead, the information provided is quickly checked with the original data source. A local authority needs to receive the simple yes response from DWP. It doesn't need to keep photocopies of the paper evidence detailing the person's disability. If we could check identity and eligibility and make decisions in real time, we could revolutionize the delivery of public services. We want to encourage organizations from all sectors to work together to develop the supply chain of services that make it easy for users to assert a trustworthy digital identity. Any private organization is welcome to propose an identity project to OIX. The process is fully transparent and the conclusions are published for others to see. The rules around digital trust are as important as their technology. You can't look at the one without considering the other. We've long been working with interested parties, including members of the privacy lobby, to consider how digital trust services should operate and how the market should deliver them. But we also have to consider the issues through practical activity. And through OIX, we'll be working with public and private sector partners to build open standards-based solutions and the framework of rules through which they can be used. We'll be reporting on the progress of some of these projects at the OIX meeting, which is taking place here concurrently. So in conclusion, digital identity is absolutely fundamental to the issue of trust that underpins the success of the whole digital revolution. Gov.uk Verify is an exciting contribution to that work. A completely new concept, world-leading, with the potential to be used for all sectors, as I say, the first of anywhere of its kind anywhere in the world. From Australia to Mexico, Canada to New Zealand, governments around the world are exploring the challenges and opportunities of digital identity. And we can be proud that Britain is at the forefront, both of thought and of action. This presents a massive opportunity to unlock a wealth of ideas and solutions. But doing so requires support and investment from the private sector. So please continue working with us. If we're successful, then we can help to make Britain one of the safest places in the world to do business online. And we can ensure people have confidence in the security of new technologies so they can continue to benefit from the many ways in which the digital revolution is transforming our lives. Thank you very much.
So a couple of quick questions that came out. You mentioned other countries. What do you see as the challenges that protecting digital identities of citizens that every government's facing? Which countries are the leaders? And those are the top role models in your view. And how does the UK stand?
Well, I think countries tend to fall into two categories. There are countries that have a national identity system, a national identity card and a national identity database, which kind of gives you a better state-based basis for doing this, but with all of the issues around people never being completely trusting of government having all of that data. And for countries that don't have that, like ourselves, like the United States, something like what we're doing here is an essential thing, and I think we're leading on that. I was quite interested that visiting Israel nearly 2 years ago now, we were talking about this to the Israeli authorities, and I kind of assumed they wouldn't be that interested because they do have a national identity database, they take it very seriously. And they were absolutely riveted, and they said, can we know more about what you're doing? To which the answer was yes, and Chris Ferguson went out there the very next week to tell them about it. So there's a lot of interest in what we're doing. And the great thing is, with these kinds of things, collaboration. Our approach to digital and tech is a presumption of being open standards, open source. So much of what we do, our gov.uk source code is all open and being used by others. And people sometimes say, well, why aren't you benefiting from monetizing it? And the answer is we benefit from it being improved all the time. It's the essential thing with open source. So I think we are well placed, but and we are leading, but there's much more to do.
The final question which we've got from the audience, but before I touch on that, last night two of the industry leaders, one from America and one a British CEO of a bank, both commented that you, under your leadership and your team, have been doing some brilliant work. So clearly government's driving digital identification, but you touched on a phrase called collaboration, which is really important to yourselves. Under your leadership, how do you see the collaboration with private industry working and taking the platform further?
Well, I don't think there's a standard answer to that. In the whole world of cybersecurity, I oversee the British government's cybersecurity program. And what we've said from the very outset in all of this territory of cybersecurity is No government can do it on its own, so it needs to be collaboration across governments because, by definition, this stuff doesn't recognize national boundaries. But it also requires intense collaboration between academia and business, the private sector and government. And so what we've done in that world is to set up things like the Cyber Information Sharing Partnership, where information about threats and attacks is shared in real time and the solutions shared in real time, and that's crucial. And we can't avoid that. This is an allied area that we're talking about here today. And, I think we need to find the right forum in which this collaboration can take place. I think the OIX is a hugely important forum for that. What I think we as a government can do is, as it were, catalyze the creation of this marketplace, of this model for identity assurance. But taking it to the next and the next and the next levels in terms of its spread will be absolutely about those businesses, those sectors which themselves have an interest in good and easily usable online identity assurance, taking it up and running with it.
Mr. Minister, thank you very much for your time, also pioneering the great work that you're doing on behalf of UK PLC, not just citizens and also businesses as well. Well, if possible, what I'd like to do is hand over to Janet Hughes in your organisation, sure, who can then continue the work you've been doing. If that's
very
okay?
Good. Thanks very much indeed. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.